Welcome to the Changemaker Table. I am your host, Lois Castillo, the podcast where we bring influential leaders and cultural changemakers together from all walks of life to share their insights, their experience, and their strategies while driving meaningful impact. Our aim at the table is to create a platform for trailblazers to discuss their work and inspire our listeners to become agents of change themselves. I'm excited to say, in our first episode, we'll be sitting down with Lydia Mercer, the founder of the Unlearning Space. Lydia is a successful entrepreneur who has made significant impact in her community. We'll learn about the challenges she's faced in creating a sustainable business model while addressing pressing social issues. We'll discuss the importance of entrepreneurship as a tool for creating change and explore the strategies of scaling impact and making a difference in our world. So again, I say it with the most excitement. I am happy to be sitting down with you, Lydia, and I want to take a moment to just say thank you for joining us today.
Received. Thanks so much for having me, Lois.
I feel like we were soul sisters in a 5-second meeting. I knew that just the energy you bring into a space and how you show up is just a gift. And I'm so glad that you're sharing
Yeah.
it with us today. I want to take a moment to allow you to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background and this journey of creating the unlearning space, and tell us what the unlearning space is.
Absolutely. I'm Lydia. Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here today in space with Lois. I am a mother of two littles, 1 and 3. I am a sister. I have a beautiful partner named Jason. I am someone who has been on a healing journey since before I could articulate that's what it was. The Unlearning Space was founded 3 years ago, and it really is an embodiment of my own healing journey as we navigate systems of oppression, what resistance looks like, what joy looks like, helping me think about my values and my priorities as a Black woman with many intersections. And it came to fruition in 2020. The journey to get there, though, y'all, whew, the underbelly, whatever you want to call it, it has been divine and it has been challenging. When I look back, the word flow comes to mind, being in a season of flow, leaning into the uncertainty, not being afraid of the challenges that were arising, and just flowing in spite of them, being centered and grounded and trusting that like this journey is for me and we. So in 2019, I had my daughter and I suffered from severe postpartum anxiety and depression. That was December. In 2020, February, I found out I was getting laid off. I worked for a very large national nonprofit. And on top of getting laid off, there was a looming pandemic.
Well,
My
that little bitty
husband,
thing,
yeah, I was saying, just a pandemic.
live in the world.
My my husband had also, my partner Jason had also been laid off. And so it was a tough time. And there was a lot of beauty with my new daughter. And in this very dark moment, and I say moment, maybe more like season, it became very clear that I needed to make some pivots or shifts in my life. And as I was laid off, I was doing a lot of I'm a very self-reflective person. Sometimes it's too much, but I had to ask myself the question, not what do you want to do next, but who do you want to be? Who do you want to be in this world? And that question was challenging, but not. It was very clear that I wanted to show up as a well and whole person. I wanted to thrive and not just survive. I wanted to be the best partner I could be. I wanted to be the best person I could be for myself. Having a daughter really was that mirror. Whoa, who are you? How are you showing up in the world? And asking myself that question made me think about, do I go back to the nonprofit space do I do those things? Will that allow me to show up how I wanted to? And after several different interviews, the answer became very apparent. Even if I didn't do the interviews, I knew the answer, but I was a little bit scared. So I got to a point where I was like, no, no. Being in those institutions and being in those systems for Lydia was not a place where I was whole or well. I wore several masks. I showed up to be who I thought other people needed me to be in those spaces. And I inevitably like dimmed my lights, stifled my gifts. I was not leaning into who I could be and who I was. So I decided that I wasn't going to go back. Now, my Jason, my partner, was terrified. They said, "We ain't gonna go."
Listen to you share that and talk about the fear and overcoming it and knowing in your heart you have the answer, but bringing them along. I want to embark a little bit. You talk about your partner and having a relationship. And I know as Black folks, as Black women, and as a culture, we are risk averse people. Can you share a little bit about what inspired you to embark on this risky path? I think you knew that you wanted to be whole, but what really was like, I gotta do this. And I gotta help my partner get there with me.
Yes. So it took a while for the partner to get on board because we got bills to pay. I'm not going to lie. It's a great person. He's a great person.
Of
And
course.
you know what I'm saying? It's a scary. So it started out initially thinking about who I wanted to be for my daughter and what world I wanted her to grow up in. As a young Black girl, I was like, I don't want her to have the 27 bags of baggage that I'm carrying in. So what can I do to trim some of that? There's going to be some now,
Yeah.
but what can I do to make this world, this place, this house, this home a better world for my daughter because she deserves it? And I thought about a lot of things. But one thing that surfaced was there were so many tensions with who I was, my way of being, and that I'm an empath. So I feel deeply. That's what comes up first. It's not necessarily like an intellectual response, it's like a love response. So I'm an empath. Love, I care for people, like all of these things that aren't valued necessarily in systems or institutions. I'm an introvert. And I felt it was a journey to realize the value of those things. And I have to give a shout out to Surge and Surge Chicago. It was a fellowship that supported me on this journey for really helping me go inward and understand the power in my being, and me being literally gave permission for others. Not that folks need permission, but it's, oh, this person is standing in her power and just being. Maybe I can do the same thing. Permission in that definition. And I wanted to be that for my daughter. So creating an organization that values those things and values those things in people in my own learning comes to realize that this is what it feels like or looks like to center humanity, to center people over institutions, right? We've all been conditioned to understand how systems work, how you operate, what professionalism means in spaces, and that being the right way to do things. And the unlearning space came to be because I realized I had a lot of unlearning to do, a lot of unlearning about what the value is in showing up with love and empathy and care and creating a business that centers your people, right? Over capital, over a lot of things. And there's a lot of tensions there. And at the same time, I've never felt so like liberated and free and happy and joyful. And I hope I can pass that on to my daughter and all of the partners that we work with. And I can talk about my services. That was really general. If you
No,
want the
no, no.
specifics, okay.
It was more than it was beautiful because it
Okay.
was just on that journey. And I appreciate you sharing, being vulnerable and that authenticity around the path and why you did it and being aware of oneself and knowing that because when we talk about business, no one talks about, everyone says, oh, we're people centric, but we're people centric as long as the bottom line's hitting. Share a little bit about creating a sustainable business model with those being core values because it's such a nuance.
Oh, that's attention too.
Yeah, and people
I
don't wanna hear it. They like to see
no.
it. They want it on posters and their
Yeah.
marketing. Like, so
Yeah.
it looks good and we say it, but when, we're the first thing we throw out is our human capital, especially in nonprofit organizations where you're not really selling a widget. You're not selling a
Right.
bottle of water. The
Mm.
business and the thought leadership comes the people who are really creating, having the impact and sustaining the business is the people who were the first to let go. So I
Oh.
please dive into creating a sustainable business in that model rooted in love.
It's nuanced and it's complex, and some of it's hard to articulate because it's not we didn't and we aren't doing things in a traditional way. And so it's like how to talk about this in a way that supports people understanding because it is inside systems and institutions and the way we operate. We are trying to like dream and reimagine and do things differently. I would say firstly, which is we're 3 years old now.
Congratulations. Most organizations may not make it off the paper, let alone into 3 years. in
Yeah.
a social,
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. That's why I wanted you to be our first
Oh,
guest.
it's divine.
Is
It doesn't make any like natural traditional sense. It doesn't. People are like, wait, Lydia used to sell quote unquote healing and well-being and love and teaching folks how to center their people within your isms and people pay for it. I'm like, let me tell you this, Lois. 3 years, we have not had to chase or pitch for partners. I have not at all yet. You know, we're trusting. When you lean into your gift and the team is just bright, beautiful human beings who are on the same journey. And when you are that vulnerable and when you not only talk about transformation, but you live it, people are attracted to you. It feels like you're magnets. Even when I met you, you give that energy, Lois. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. And that's hard to articulate. Like that, like gut level power that emits and people just find you. So for these 3 years, to be honest with you, like I have not had a traditional strategic, this is what we're doing to make sure that we have profit. And every year we've had profit. And I like money was not the goal.
yes,
Do you understand? And so I know this sounds all like true. And I believe when you put energies into prioritizing your gifts, your strengths, your zone of genius, like it's fruitful.
of course it is. It's like like I get chills, and I'm more than excited because I think about even what you're selling. Like I sell love and impact, but you're trying to break systems that have been just
Mhm.
are innately
That's right.
are archetyped into in our
That's
survival.
right. I'm learning. That's right.
And to even talk about unlearning and organizations, and to hear that you have partners who are in that
Yes.
space, because the world and the media will tell us different.
Oh, yes. The scarcity mindset. No, like people aren't going to pay for that. Or there's all the narratives around this type of work. And it is absolutely one of the worst weapons of capitalism and like the patriarchy. It's all of these narratives that say that your gift isn't needed. It's a lie. It's a lie straight from wherever. And yes, it was so challenging to lean in and say, this is what I want to do, and then when it happened and people started gravitating and like we have a team of 5 and so grateful and like a large group of consultants. We're not just doing work, we are being it. So everything that we are teaching, it is a practice of our own. We are building the Unlearning Space is an organization where, and I get our foundational text and I want everybody to read it, is 4 pivots. And Sean Genwright talks a lot about practice. People, when you do trainings and workshops, you probably have, okay, this is what a training or workshop is. You understand what it is. And he talks about how a lot of the time, most of the time, people aren't taught or trained the practice of compassion, the practice of loving one another, like going inward and doing that work. Because when we're able to go in and do that mirror work and we're transforming, then we can transform systems. If we do not, we will continue to perpetuate this fight for power, and then we will then be the oppressor. We have to transform. And our team, we have weekly reflection journals where we are practicing the art of being transparent and vulnerable. We obviously talk about boundaries, and it's important for people to show up where they are and what they want to share. It's always by invitation, but we create space for that. That's centering humanity. The team can work when they want to, as long as they do what we need to do. It's trust. And we build that trust through our narrative exchange with our reflections. We're transparent about money. They know where every penny goes. There's no secrecy or like different
Amazing.
agendas that folks have. It's like in every decision we think about how are we centering the humanity and how are we, thank you, Adrienne Marie Brown, how are we getting closer to love? And Sonia Marie Taylor, like how in this decision are we making this situation more about love for ourselves internally and for others? And when you do that, one, it requires you to pause, to stop, to breathe, to think. I know in a lot of my other jobs, we're just moving at a million miles an hour. You don't have time to reflect. That's the first thing to go at the end of whatever, because it's okay, we ran out of time. And that's where like the learning and the processing and, oh, maybe I should pivot or shift in this way. Or what about this? That's where the idea is. Because when you're operating in a space of, and I use these words when we think about oppression, trauma, and harm, when we're operating in those spaces, it kills creativity, it kills possibility, it kills dreams. And so we have to create spaces where we can pause, stop, breathe, and we can dream and we can do things differently. And so that's what we're doing. We're striving to do and support partners to do as well.
Love hearing that an organization like yours exists at the unlearning space
Oh,
because we are taught that there's so much harm and we can't unlearn. And that I am a believer, if you lean into your whole self, and you talked about being aware of yourself, and you've mentioned some amazing help, those who've helped you build the foundation of how what kind of sustainable business that you want to have. And like you said, it's not a blueprint. You're building the blueprint. So
yes.
we'll come back in 10 years and go
Yes.
about what you built and how you
Yes.
there.
And we're trying to document it all. Like
Yes.
I'm doing like little voice memos and, oh, that was really hard. And this is what we did. And da 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 da. But yeah, there's not a blueprint.
And I love the fact that you are the innovation in what you're building. So I want to take it it's 3 years. Like you said, there it has been some challenges. You haven't had to find partners. But I want to dig a little bit and talk about the significant challenge you face and how have you overcome those challenges to continue the success.
A couple of challenges come to mind. I'll name them both so I don't forget. The first one is just my internal narratives that I continue my own internal oppression and like how I'm battling narratives around what we can do, what I can do, who do we think we are type stuff. And the second one, and you brought this up in your intro, is the tension between impact and scaling. So just briefly, the first one, when I like let myself sit and think about like how I treat myself sometimes in my own head, dang, you look ugly in this outfit, or dang, why did you make that decision? Or shoot, you missed a comma here. What are you thinking? When I like sit and think about like how I speak to myself, a lot of times there's a complete lack of self compassion. And that those voices I've had to learn to quiet.
Say that again, because I think we all do
Those
it. Say it.
No,
Say it. That is,
those voices.
you have dropped a thing they need to teach at school.
Okay.
Learn to what with those voices?
I've had to learn to quiet those voices, and I've had to learn to quiet them with love because it is not serving me to be like, "Hey, why do I do that? Shut up." No, my therapist and executive coach was like, "Lydia, imagine you're talking to like little Lydia who's 5. Would you be like, 'Shut up, girl. What are you doing?' No, you would be like, 'Sweetheart, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. We can try it this way.'" And so I've literally had to talk to myself like my 5-year-old Lydia. Okay. And with love, had to help her unlearn these narratives. And they happen so fast. Like, dang it. And it's extra important to me because I don't want Olivia, and I also have another daughter now, Eden. I don't want them to have to hear me say those things or even to notice my body language when I'm looking in the mirror. And there's just so many levels there. Anyway, so that's one part when I think about the business. Well, who do y'all think you are? Or you can't do this. Like you grew up poor. Like what do you know? And so that's been a challenge. And that will continue to be a challenge. And those voices are quieting. And we're doing it.
I can't wait till they're real quiet.
You know what I mean? Just like little whisper tickles, like, oh, that's funny. That's cute. Okay. Okay. We keep moving.
Yeah.
And the other part is like when we began the learning space, like I didn't think about scale. I thought about impact. I can be honest to say that I have baggage with scale. And so I know I have bias for working for other organizations that I felt like sometimes the bigger you get, the more distance you get from actualizing the mission and the vision, and people are the cost. Like you know what I'm saying? And I want the learning space to be an organization where people are paid. Do you understand? We pay not just for the things that folks do, but for the mental exhaustion. We pay a percentage, just like we raise the interest, whatever. What am I trying to say? Every year, what goes up? Inflation.
Yeah, inflation.
I'm like, what am I trying to say? We,
Sure. You know, we have a whole nother conversation. What's the
you know what I'm saying? Okay, we won't go there, but we pay for the mental exhaustion that goes into. We're a team of color for doing this type of work. there is a cost to that people don't talk about, but we want to acknowledge it. And I want my people to be paid well. Obviously, there's a lot of tension with like capitalism, and this conversation could go all over the place. But what I'm saying is, I want them to be valued in this traditional sense as well, because we are operating, unfortunately, our lives be life in these
Okay.
systems. And so it's important for me to pay them well. And when I think about doing what we do with organizations and how in depth it might include tons of like data learning and meeting making, where that takes time to build trust and talk to people and interviews and focus groups. And it's not just a transactional, let's go in. It is transformational relationships we're trying to build. When I think about all of the time it takes and the energy of our team and people to do this work, it's hard for me to imagine like scaling. And I know I need to do some unlearning with what that word is even means,
Redefine it for you.
to be honest. Yeah, because I know I'm just speaking with truly my own bias there. Like maybe I need to shift and think about that differently. But I don't ever want it to feel like you engage with the unlearning space and it was transactional and we're just, that's not our approach. And so there's just dissonance and like a tension between those two in my head. And I haven't been able to I haven't given myself space, our team space to like really dig into that, because it's like you want to grow the team to be able to do this type of work with as many people as possible, Lowe's. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, because you want the scaling impact.
That's
Maybe
right.
not the scaling of the business, but you want the
That's right. That's right. So
and I think that is that's different than
yeah,
scaling
that's
business.
right. That's right.
And that's what I hear you saying.
That's what
I wanna
thank
scale
you
my
for
impact.
hearing that back. That's what we want. We want people to know their worth in the spaces they are in. And we want to help teach people how to do that, because we're moving along, all of us, like robots in these spaces, and we're harming ourselves and each other.
And some of it, I think what you talk about this harm and oppression and I've been in the media and advertising industry for
Yeah.
years,
Long time.
and and I've been in government being a veteran, and I think it's so much of the harm that we have introduced is
Yeah.
unintentional
It is. Yeah.
because we don't know any
We
different.
we didn't create it. We got born into this stuff and we're just jamming along. But do you know, Lois, I know that I am privileged for being able to find myself on a journey to be aware and to do this. I understand that it's a privilege. There are so many people who move through the world because of a million different reasons, and they may not have had access to spaces where they could talk about these things, could talk about healing and being and oppression and anti-racism. And now there are a lot of other people who choose not to be in those spaces because you know what I'm saying? But I understand it as a privilege to be able to go inward. You know what I mean?
And
And
when
so
I
yeah,
do take a moment, especially in our Black community and wellness and being, that's a new phenomenon for us
yeah,
culturally.
yes,
I think the wellness and the rejuvenation, I will say, not to get religious, came from Sunday or when you were in
yeah,
church.
yeah. That's when
But
you
we're not really taught that. So
no,
it's and I hear you say it's a privilege, but I think I love how you're sharing and what the unlearning space shares it as it shouldn't be a privilege. It should
no,
be a be.
no. Yes, yes. Yes, let that marinate. I did a workshop on self care, and it happened to be all women of color, Latina women and Black women, and rest is so the unlearning space, we believe rest is, and joy are one of the most important forms of resistance. Because if we do not, we will die. And we are dying. We are, and to hear all of the testimonies of women who are just, and femmes who are just moving along at a million miles an hour, trying to do mission driven, value driven work and killing themselves is just, oh, I get goosebumps because it's so sad to me. That is a trick of oppression and capitalism, and we're dying. And what we need to do is rest and just be like,
I love to hear you say that, and I want you to can you share a little bit more about because I don't think a lot of people know what real rest is.
no. And when we talk about rest, we're not just taking 15-minute naps here and there, although that matters. Sleep, people of color on average get much less sleep than white people. And it's just interesting because, and again, have to shout out Sean Jun Wright, but he talks a lot about how rest is letting your mind rest, like not thinking about all of the brutal killings that may have happened in the street the night before, not thinking or being afraid of your young children because of the color of their skin or their stature or whatever, going out into spaces and being harmed. Like this mental rest is a gift that most marginalized identities don't have because we're operating in these systems of oppression. And to be intentional about rest, to find space and respite, to like pause, to breathe, to center, to ground, to give gratitude, to give nature. I find this a lot of time in nature, connecting like outside or being in community with other people who see you. It's so important to fuel so that you can just be. Otherwise, we're just moving through space feeling like we need to put on masks or be different to be enough, to be valued, to fit in. And it is exhausting. And when we continue to do that, we die younger. Like we have heart issues. Like it impacts not only like our mental or physical, and it's killing us. And so rest as a form of resistance is imperative.
Love hearing that. And I love the examples you give around what rest is because we don't talk about rest and we don't give ourselves permission to rest.
No, be feeling we always need to be doing something. Your mind is thinking, what could I be doing? Yeah,
Or
it's
I'm
so
me
hard.
sitting here is, and I want to talk about when you talk about, I want to bring it back kind of full circle.
Yeah.
You talked about you did want it to be your whole self for your daughters.
Yeah.
And so share a little bit, if you can, of how you are teaching these young women, these your babies, how to
Yeah.
rest, see mommy
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah.
And because I
Yeah.
think it is important to
Yeah.
have that and that inspiration.
Yeah. So I'll say as a former educator, it's scaffolded, right? So they're 3 in 1, but
Yes.
hopefully, and I will say I started this just for them. And now it's slowly, Lydia, you deserve rest just for you. And that has been hard. It's so much easier for me to do things for other people, especially my children. And I would like to say to everyone, you are enough. If you poured not another thing, you deserve to be full. A lot of times we think about, I need to be full so I can keep pouring and keep giving. Nah, sis, you need to be full because you deserve to be full and well. So I'll say that. And with my daughters, doing this and having my young 3-year-old who is so curious, Lord help me with the teenagers, Lord, so curious and notices everything. She sees her mommy doing work, creating work, talking to her about not just the work, but what's important in terms of loving people, showing how mommy shows up for people. Not these examples are silly, Lois, but I promise you, when I think about how I was conditioned, my house might not always be spick and span when I have a guest, and we just gonna be, and we're gonna let that be something that is not like weighing on my mind. I don't want her to be conditioned to feel like she has to perform for people. She is enough. She is okay. And those little things are so valuable when we talk about like practice, which is habits, creating habits, the doing the compassion, showing the love, and the language that I am intentional about in terms of speaking about myself in front of her.
Love that.
Oh my gosh, it's so important. And her saying those things, the text that we read,
Mm.
I've had to talk to family members about how we talk about ourselves, including myself, but just making sure we are in expansive spaces that like center humanity and value her and me. And it's hard. And I mess up all the time.
First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing that because I think about just listening to you talk about not only the unlearning space, but how you live that value in who you are and how the inspiration of your daughters have gotten you here and the support of your partner and your team. And I think it's And you say it's little, but those are the things that make changes.
Mhm.
It's not the grand, just grandiose, but it's the little things of how we unlearn and how we just be.
Yeah.
And I think that the fact that you're sharing that with the world and scaling that impact outside of your home so you can have those historical or those things that are innately in us be unlearned to have healthy so we can have healthy full beings in the world is a gift. And so thank you for giving us that gift.
Thank you, Will.
And sharing your because I'm nosy as anyone who knows me, all in the business. So thank you for that. As we wrap up, I would love, and I know you gave some wisdom of rest and saying we're enough, and thank you because
Mhm.
we just need to hear it from somebody else. Because we can tell ourselves enough, but that gremlin or that little voice that we have
Oh,
to get that
gremlin.
turn off the. I call it a gremlin. I
I
call
love it. It
it
is what it
you know,
is.
look, they always in our ears, and for anyone, regardless of where you sit on in this walk. Because I one of my mantras, we're humans who are trying to have a human experience, just humans being human, because where we're at. What advice would you give an individual who is aspiring to make a difference in their perspective, and a difference in their lives, in their perspective fields? Just what was some advice you would like to share?
In, I would say, traditional society, we have been taught to value like contemplation and intellectualism over like gut and feeling. And that is absolutely that is a teaching out within these systems of oppression. And I would say a piece of advice for me would be to like lean into your gut. I believe God and my ancestors, they speak to me there.
Yeah.
Like an intuition or discernment. I would say lean in and trust and trust. And to me, it's really like no matter what you believe or not, it's really like a faith walk. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in like this gift that you have? And maybe you don't even know what the gift is, but something is pulling you. I would say trust it. I would also say one of the biggest myths I think that I believed for many years, and a lot of people may disagree with me, is that there is a professional Lydia and a personal Lydia. Y'all, I am a whole human being, and every part of me should be valued, whether or not it fits into these systems and these institutions. And I understand the consequences of that, knowing how systems and institutions work. And I also believe, though, if you could tap a little bit more into being your whole self with your own boundaries, you're taking little steps towards liberation for yourself. It's not about anybody else, it's about you and how you show up. Can you peel off some of this mask in this space? Can you show up in this way, in this space? Like you said, Lois, it doesn't have to be a grandiose gesture. It can be in this space, in this moment, as I'm pausing and breathing. How can I be intentional about who I am, what I'm sharing, what I'm doing? And it's just getting you closer and closer to your own personal liberation. And so I would offer that.
First of all, I want to say thank you. I love how you say being your whole self and with boundaries because boundaries are important. Again, I have enjoyed our conversation. I enjoy your transparency. Please share with the audience how they can get in touch with you and how they can learn more about the unlearning space.
So feel free to reach out on social media, the socials. I'm Unlearning Lid. So it's just learning, one word lid, LYD. And you can also email me if you want, L Mercer. It's spelled LM as in mouse, ERC as in cat, ER at unlearningspace.org. And if you view the website, there's also a place where you can send us messages and we respond, honey. We love the people. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to know you. And I'm just so grateful, Lois, for this space and letting me just yap you.
No, I'm just grateful that you came, and I just want to take a moment to say thank you again. And this has been our first episode of the Changemaker Table. We are looking to have more wonderful guests, such as Lydia, to share their story and inspiration and give us tools and strategies so we can create our own change. We can each be change makers in our own way in our communities. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lois. Thanks so much.
Bye.